Shalom, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be back. Yeah, so a lot has happened. A lot is in my digestive system these past 2 weeks, which is not the norm. Normally there's not a lot of going on in the digestive system area, but we got the good old fashioned food poisoning. I was probably overdue for one, to be fair. My sister Lauren gets it chronically at this point. It's a seasonal food poisoning for her, but she often does go to random places like, what's that place called? Outback Steakhouse. You're going to get the FP there. I got the FP in Turks and Caicos, also known as Turkeys and Khakis, with two of my dear friends, Sabrina and Anne. We went for my birthday, and Dylan got disinvited because I was like, I think it would be very fun to be reunited with my girlfriends. And that it was. And he did not get his feelings hurt. And that is mature relationships, let me tell you. But we stay at Rock House. It's gorgeous if you ever have the pleasure of going to Turks and Caicos. It's very close to New York. It's about a 3-hour flight, like 3.5 hours, feet on sand. It's crazy. And that's the way that I want to roll. I don't want to fly far distances. We're so close to the Caribbean. We're so close to the Bahamas. Being over here on the East Coast, it's like, that's the way I want to roll. And Miami is good too, but it's also really ratchet. Turks and Caicos, for those of you that don't know, is a very small island. It's a part of the Caribbean. It's the bluest water I've ever seen in my entire life. But if you've been to the St. Bart's and the, what was the other one that I was mispronouncing today? St. Lucia, whatever the heck it's called. You've probably seen pretty similarly blue water, but this was like the first place I'd been to where I was like, wow, like this is turquoise, breathtaking water. And it still shocks me every time we go. But Turks and Caicos in itself is extremely small. Like you could literally run, it's probably like a half marathon total, like running the whole perimeter of the island. But to drive from one point to the other, I think it's like 40 minutes and it's like pretty skinny and narrow. A misconception, especially about a lot of these Caribbean islands, is that they're all very developed and like, you know, I don't know what in my mind was. I think Hawaii is probably the only place I've been that's extremely tropical, extremely vacation, and majority of it's like pretty developed. Like you're not driving around looking and being like, oh God, like I don't want to be stuck out here late at night. That's how I feel when I go to Mexico, when I go to anywhere in the Caribbean. Only been to Turks and Caicos. Oh no, the Dominican was similar. Costa Rica, like it is just so crazy that you think these countries are advertised as like so beautiful, so stunning, so developed, so westernized, so commercialized, so safe. And meanwhile, you land in Turks and Caicos and you're driving and it's like so run down. There's like shacky homes everywhere. And it's such a funny joke because apparently Drake like always comes to Turks and Caicos and it's like, is this the Turks and Caicos that Drake and the Kardashians are experiencing? Because it's like pretty shacky until you get to the hotels and the resorts. It's really nice. But other than that, like it's not going to blow your expectations. You want to stay within all the resorts and you need to rent a car. Like absolutely. I'm so glad my dad gave us this tip. We used this service called Rent a Buggy. It was by far the most affordable outside of the Hertz's and all the other car rental services. So highly recommend using Rent a Buggy. We got this like, honestly, not as dingy of a car that Dylan and I got last time. Like literally Dylan and I got a funeral we last time. Somebody's probably died in there. It was rickety AF. The gears barely worked. Like literally we were taking photos of it. No, the people who gave us the car didn't even take photos of it to ensure that like there was going to be no scuffs and bumps, like because it was already so scuffed up that they were like, I literally don't care if you guys hit something or nick it. It's in pretty poor shape as is. So it was so hilarious because I remember the first time I had gone just with Dylan and I, we like obviously didn't have dad there. Like we had to do everything on our own. So of course Dylan drove. And not only is the driver's seat on the other side as it is in America. It's been so far since I've driven in a car. I don't even know which side it's on. I think the right. So it's on the left, yeah. And then you drive on the opposite side of the street because the Turks and Caicos is still like British occupied land. It's crazy. It is such a mind fuck. It's absolutely insane. So I kind of briefed the girls up on this ahead of time. I'm like, hey, we're renting a car. And then we made the executive decision that Anne was going to drive because, God forbid, I don't drive. I would be totally down, but I just felt like I'd be putting these women in an unsafe situation. So Anne was so brave to say yes, and honestly handled it like a fucking champ. There's only roundabouts also. Wow, I could do a crash course on Turks and Caicos. There's no stoplight, no street lights. It's only roundabouts. I don't know how people aren't literally getting in major car accidents every single day. It's insane. But Anne literally crushed it. Didn't have a single moment where we were like, holy shit, we're going to die. So yeah, kudos to Anne. But yeah, it was such a great trip. So enjoyable, so relaxing. Just hung out, did a few excursions here and there. And on the last day, literally our final meal, we got food poisoning, as in me and Anne. Thank God Sabrina was untouched because that bathroom would not be able to handle the massacre it faced. And poor Anne, because mine hit that night. We were leaving on Sunday, mine hit Saturday night. And the power of the human body, wow, I was like, maybe my body is a little bit more in tune than sometimes I think it is with food digestion and understanding what's being put in my body, because immediately when I left that meal, I was like, something is not right. Something is gurgling. My belly feels weird, which is often a statement that comes out of my mouth, but belly felt weird. And then once we got back, it makes me shiver, but we grabbed the red wine because we bought 2 bottles in a panic at the grocery store, which, by the way, that's another thing that you kind of should do in Turks and Caicos because a lot of the things are really expensive, even more expensive than New York. And we thought we'd be super economical by going to the grocery store, but I dropped literally $100 on probably 10 items, and it was Special K, the lowest of low quality foods. So don't go to the market that we went to. It was Grace Market, or it was stupid. I think there was better markets. Anything that the locals told us to do, honestly, was a huge flop. Don't go to the Conch Shack, C-O-N-C-H, it's pronounced conch. They will correct you. Don't go to the fish fry. These things are happening every single week in Turks and Caicos, and the locals get so, revved up about it. They're like, gotta go to the Conch Shack. It's Wednesday night. Conch Shack, see you at the Conch Shack, ladies, fish fry. This happens every week, and you're this excited about it? Either it was mega trolling on us, or genuinely they, which is sweet, I guess, enjoy doing this every single week, but it's heyday. It's over and over and over again. I'd go literally nuts. So don't go to the Conch Shack. You honestly pass that up. Don't go to fish fry. Don't do anything that the locals tell you to do, especially at Rock House, because they were steering us in every which way direction until the very last evening upon actually getting really bad food poisoning. We were talking to the bartender down there at Rock House, and he was like, who the heck told you to go to Conch Shack? And we were laughing. It was hilarious. But belly was not right. Belly not good. We had that red wine. I was sipping that red wine. I'm like, ooh. Red wine sometimes just goes down bad, and it was really going down bad. And I'm like, all right, belly hurts bad. We need to get out of here. And then, all the works, and yeah, absolute massacre. And then poor Anne, in the middle of the night, she didn't feel anything until around 4 a.m. And then because where we were in the studio, there's only one bathroom, fully occupied, ass on seat all night for me. And Anne had to go to the lobby bathroom, lock herself in there. And we think it was either the complimentary cake that the girls got them to bring to me, because that whole week it was my birthday week, so they we always tried to get free dessert. We either think it was that fucking cake that these people did not want to give us, but Anne had literally got up out of her seat to go ask them secretly oh, do you guys have any cake you give us? Or it was not the ribeye Anne ordered, but the sauce they gave her, and I was dousing stuff in that sauce. I was dipping the fries, I was dipping the vegetables. Oh, why does the sauce get you sick? I don't understand. But my body rejected that so horribly, and it lasted well over 24 hours. I had an accident in the rental car parking lot. Once we dropped the car off, I was gotta drop the pants. that something bad happened. And then I had quite a few accidents leading up to getting on the plane. Probably one of the worst experiences to date that I've had with belly issues. I have shit my pants before, to be fair, but it was a bit comical. It was the first time, so it was like, oh my God, this is like actually kind of funny. This is scary, but like we'll be okay. This time it was getting on the plane. I was about to board, and in Turks and Caicos, because it's a really small airport, you like have to walk outside to get onto the plane and like go on the ramp. It's just very Caribbean. And we were walking, and I was like feeling these urges to FART, and didn't even push. Like, this is how sensitive my stomach was. Like, I was just in absolute shambles. I would curl over every once in a while. I was trying to use reality television to snap me out of the haze I was in. I had eaten some froyo in the airport, which coincidentally I found out through one of the people I work with that their family got food poisoning from that froyo place. Let me tell you, every single person in the airport had a cup of froyo in their hands. All of us. Everyone. So it either worsened it, or maybe they fixed their machines because it happened the week prior. And I, was walking, and I was walking like behind these like Turks and Caucasian women who were yapping about. And next thing I know, like down the fucking leg. Literally horrible. I would never want anyone to experience this ever. And like you could tell, like, people kind of knew what was up. People behind me, I think, out to lunch, like, no idea. They were like walking really close behind me. I'm like, you should want to back up, like, for real. And then I was already planning out to like, I was by myself, by the way. Like, Sabadan had already gotten boarded their plane, but I think it was for the best, because I think any other person just would have added to the intensity of the situation. And so I was thinking on that, from that remainder of the walk to boarding the plane, how was I going to execute this and preserve my really expensive Lululemon pants? And I get on the plane, and I'm like, all right, there's limited overhead space. I need the people, what are they called? I want to call them store associates. What the hell are they called? Flight attendants, to put my bag up, and then I'll do my thing in the bathroom with like 500 sanitizing wipes and like literally sizzle and sanitize the hell out of my leg. They couldn't put my bag up. They're not allowed to touch our baggage without whatever. Like, they're not allowed to do that. And I was like, okay, but I'm gonna have to put my bag up because I want to get a spot. And then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to go to the bathroom because I'm having an emergency. And they're like, okay, like, what do you need? And I was like, no. I'm like, please don't ask questions. Whatever. Took my pants off. By the grace of God, I'm so glad I didn't check a bag, because I coincidentally had all my dirty clothes in a giant laundry hamper that was in one of my carry-on bags, just by itself, isolated as it should be. And I was able to like pull from the very bottom the sweatpants that I had worn on the flight there. And if you know me, you know that is a cardinal sin in my book of wearing the clothing that you wore on any flight again. Once anything touches the seats of an airplane, even if you sanitize the hell out of them like I do, I sanitize everything. I grab like 3 of the United little sanitizing wipes, and I do everywhere. I do people's seats next to me too. I'm like, hey, you want this? You should. And that was probably one of the worst parts, is I had to put those pants on that I had known I had already touched airplane soil. So, but I was grateful I had them, and I plucked my pants off. Didn't even give 2 Fs that I was about to strut down that aisle in completely different pants that I was wearing initially. And clearly I was looking very unwell. So if people are stupid, they wouldn't be able, but most people probably were able to put one and one plus one together. And the funniest part was after I took my pants off, and I'd been given a few plastic bags. I asked for a couple from the flight attendants, and naturally I think they just thought that I had to throw up. And they were wrong. And so when I had my pants in the garbage bags, I tied them up really tight. I was like, first of all, this is like a $30 pair of underwear and my like $120 pair of Lululemons. Like, these are coming home with me. I will resolve this once I land back in New York, because I am a person who completely unpacks, does all my laundry, cleans everything the time I land. But as I leave the bathroom, the guy like the flight attendant tries to grab the plastic bags, and I'm like, no, And he grabs it back. And I'm like, no. It's not barf. It's not barf. And he's like, oh, okay, but we can keep it over here. I'm like, it's not barf. And I snatched it back. He was like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, you're making this worse. The poor guy. Literally so innocent with my poopy pants in his hand. I'm like, give me back my poopy pants, please. And then I go and walk ashamed to my seat with my plastic baggie that I just threw on the ground. And it didn't smell, for those of you wondering. It didn't smell. I was very polite. The flight attendants embarrassingly did, again, ask me in the middle of the flight if I needed medical attention. And let me tell you, people's necks cranked. People's necks cranked because if you're on an app called TikTok, you know what happens when somebody requires medical attention. Things go viral. Planes are landed. People are boarded off the plane. People are pissed. People are angry. It makes national headlines. And it was about a 2-second pause before I said, absolutely not. Nope, I am totally fine. Nope, absolutely not. No medical attention is required from me whatsoever. If I have to die, I will. If I have to poop my pants on this seat, I will. If I have to throw up in my palms, I will. We will not be stopping this plane. We are getting back to New York. And then everybody's just like resumed back to their normal programming. But yeah, that was a violent end to the trip. Anne had to cut her trip to California, back to New York early. She was going to go to a Knicks game. She couldn't even survive. Like when I tell you that last few hours of us being in Turks and Caicos, typically soaking up the sun, enjoying the last moments, maybe doing a little workout, was spent fighting for our lives. And there's hilarious footage of us just like scattered amidst the pool area, trying to revive ourselves and just feeling so dead. So food poisoning is horrible. It's so humbling. It's so concerning that food does this to our bodies and that we can like have such an intense reaction to such a small, like, poisonous thing. I mean, I guess it's a good sign that our bodies are so responsive, but it's like, why is this still happening with food? I don't get it. And I told everybody, the restaurant that we went to, forgot already, but I told everybody not to go at Rock House. I was like, yep, everybody, public service announcement, do not go to this restaurant. It's new. We got food poisoning. You will hate your life if you go. So I wanted to definitely broadcast to them all of what happened, and I hope they lose business because they tortured Anne and I. So anywho, it took about like 2 weeks for my stomach to fully recover. I feel like I'm like still not fully recovered, but it's what it is. That's what happens when you have IBS as well. So pivoting really quickly, a topic that I felt inspired to speak of just as a corporate girly, work from home girly, navigating the, complexities and nuances of being in corporate America, doing remote work, but just the broader theme is just like working in general and how I feel about it. And the day-old idea or philosophy between doing what you love and loving what you do, the philosophy between doing something that provides for a life for yourself versus doing something that you actually are truly passionate about, like purpose over like just making money pretty much. And people feeling, especially as you're entering the workforce, having this like yearning desire to do a job that they're truly passionate about. And I love that, but I feel like you soon come to realize that a lot of those jobs in environmental stuff, in medicine, like God, like you want to be a doctor, that is one of the most noble careers you could ever have. Like my friends and friends of Dylan's who are going through this, and match day was just recently, so which means you get matched to where you do your residency, and then you're setting yourself up for another 6-7 years of this until you're making over 6 figures, and people can get out of college and make over 6 figures in year one. So it's like, just depends on what motivates you, and truly such a noble job to be in medicine, especially with the hoops you got to jump through, man, and the debt you have to incur and stuff. But I think that's just, this is a natural conversation that comes up probably every once in a while for people working, kind of battling between like, do I want to love what I do? Can I accept what I do because it allows for a greater life for me outside of my work and provides a lifestyle that I really enjoy? Do we all want to be doing something that we're extremely passionate about that also makes us a shit ton of money and provides us with ultimate flexibility? Yeah, I think that's awesome, but that's hard, and I think you really have to be really determined to get that. I don't think that's just like handed to you. I think you really have to seek the unison between doing what you love and making a lot of money and having a lot of freedom from it. Also, how you define success and how you define freedom is very differently from maybe me and other people. So, but there's pillars. It's time, it's money, it's energy that you feel doing what your work is. For me personally, I think, I'm only in my second like real job, and I do tech sales for those of you that don't know. I'm only in my second like real big girl job outside of college. But I feel like I've acquired some learning so far, and the one thing that I want to just emphasize for those of you who are maybe feeling insecure about your job and just like not sure that it's like the right path for you, and maybe a signal for you on how you know this is when people ask you what you do, you really quickly kind of dissolve that question and you're like, oh, I do tech sales, yada yada, whatever, move on. Like, not that interesting. Maybe you even like downplay it as is. You're like, yeah, it's like pays the bills, whatever. Like, I find myself doing that because I'm like, please don't ask me about my job. Like, I don't want to tell people that all I do is sell and like essentially push products. Sometimes it feels, and I work in tech. It's like, I'm not going to try to make it sound more glamorous and interesting than it is. Like, if you are a developer or a software engineer, like, you would know my company and we can have a great conversation about it. But otherwise, it's like, I don't work in beauty. I don't work in fashion. I don't work in a relevant space where my girlfriends would be intrigued to ask questions and know what questions to ask, more importantly. But even still, like, my friends who do work in beauty and fashion, which a lot of my friends, especially in New York, but a lot of my girlfriends, like, God, like tons of them work in beauty and fashion. And yeah, of course, it seems like the glitz and the glamour, you're working for a name brand that you probably use their products of or wear their clothing, but like comes with a lot of drawbacks as well. You don't make nearly as much money as other people. Benefits aren't great. The corporate ladder is just like, the prongs are really far apart. Like, you don't really understand how you're going to move up. It's just, there's challenges in every career. So, but what I'm wanting to take home for you, for me personally, and I've learned this, not the hard way, but I've just come to accept this, is that I want your work is allowed to be the least interesting thing about you. And if you do feel that way, and if you're asking yourself, am I interested in talking about my work? I think it's totally fair and honest to say no. And I don't think you should feel guilty about it, because your boss probably feels the same. She has a family, a wife, aunts and uncles, grandparents, hobbies, maybe really likes fashion, maybe really likes sports, has really exciting things outside of their work, maybe collects coins or collects like fishing rods, I don't know, that like gets them really fired up, and it's like really worth having an hour-long conversation about. Like, of course we spend most of our days working, but if it's not, it's totally fair to be like, I don't want to talk about this all the time. Like, I actually don't find faith in work setting to be as interesting as faith outside of work setting. And this falls maybe in theme with Severance, which season 3 is horrible. I can't get through it. People said the season finale was great. I literally had to stop watching after like episode 5. Too strung out, too long of shots of just like staring at their face. I'm like, I was fast forwarding. Nobody has time for that. But the sever between your work life and your personal life. But what I'm saying is, in admitting that potentially your job is the least important thing about you, it also can be like a very liberating statement. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to work as hard or that you like don't care about your work. I deeply, deeply care about how I'm viewed at work and my success and my work ethic, and that translating into moving up the corporate ladder and getting promoted and making a lot more money and closing really big deals. Like, I care deeply about that. That is like integral to faith in who I am. But it's not the most interesting thing about me. And I think if you are to admit that, basically the statement that I'm trying to make is I just wanted to, initially I was just going to stop it as like make work the least interesting thing about you. And then I was like, make work. Oh, that's my dishwasher. I'm like, make work the least, how are you making it? What would require you to make it the least important thing about you? You have other interesting things about you, whether it's a hobby that you've been wanting to pick up. I think hobbies, honestly, hot take, hobbies make people more interesting. You have more things to talk about. You have more things to relate to. You have more shared experiences with people. I genuinely think hobbies make people interesting. And it also allows you to maybe find things about yourself that you didn't know that you enjoyed or didn't know that you were really good at. Like, why was it when we were a child, we were so experimental with coloring, with singing, with doing musicals, with trying so many sports, with trying so many things and like putting ourselves out there until we become an adult, and all of a sudden it's like taboo to be doing all these things. Like, yes, of course, time is our greatest currency. There's so little time to be acquiring these new skills and talents. It takes a lot of work, but we're all smart and intelligent beings. Most of our brains are mainly formed. And I'm sure there's a hobby in the back of your mind, whether it be for my boyfriend Dylan, fashion, doing deep research on brands and on founder stories and where the fabrics are based out of and what makes something like truly worth the amount of money they pay for it, etc., and getting to know the brand and follow them. Or for myself, having a creative outlet like my podcast and doing product reviews and wanting to be a mini, slightly less abrasive Bethany Frankel, yapping about reality television. Like, reality television can absolutely be a hobby, okay? Like, if you can hold an hour-long conversation, if you can hold a seminar discussing all the different conspiracy theories and how you think about reality television, that is absolutely a hobby, and Andy Cohen would give you a gold star. But your work is allowed to be the least interesting thing about you if you have essentially other things that make you feel interesting. And this is for yourself. This is not for how you're perceived. And I think that should have been a good thing, a good place to start, because oftentimes even the statement of like, my work is my least interesting thing about me, that can come off as not a very nice thing. Like, especially if your boss hears this, they're like, well, what are you doing here? But it's not about that. It's about your personal brand and how you view yourself. And that work is something that you do, but it isn't necessarily what you are. And that you do other things that it's totally okay to say that you're equally as motivated as. Maybe you don't make money off of them, but you're equally as motivated to be good at as you want to be motivated to be good at in your job. But you just find them more interesting. And that is such a fair statement. That is such a fair assessment. And you really, really should be thinking to yourself, like, what are things that make me interesting? Like, honestly, I really think we lack asking ourselves that question of like, what makes me an interesting person? What makes me interesting outside of my work? Why are people maybe attracted to me? What are things that I really enjoy doing? I guess you could categorize it into two categories, but one being, I mean, obviously the most important and most valuable is your intrinsic value and how you view yourself, and things that you do that you find very interesting. And then the second layer to that is the perspective part of like being able to have more shared experiences with other people because you do more things. Who knows if you're in a room full of a bunch of strangers at an engagement party and you spark up a conversation with somebody and you guys both end up that you really like pottery or that you really like music. Like, it's not even that you have to go find a hobby. It's like there's probably interests that you have in your day-to-day life that are worthy of conversations and conversations that are going to be had in your later life, around music, around food and cooking. But leaning into these interests a little bit more than you currently are, I think, can help with just like the development of yourself as a person, the development of your confidence, and being able to feel like you have experiences that are worth sharing outside of your work. Because if you do, I will say, it's hard. I think it's harder for people my age. I think I'm Gen Z, to base our identity on our work, because I think we're such busy bodies and we're so distracted. So I think it's a little bit harder for us now, but I do genuinely think that's a great thing. I think for the boomers, like my mom and dad's era, your identity was so far rooted in your work because there was the hierarchical strain of you gotta fight your way up the corporate ladder. Like there was definitely hazing and what was done to me, I'll do to you sort of situations, and in traditional careers, there was expectations, there unrealistic expectations that people were going to make work their life, when really everybody was just really fucking miserable and just wanted to go to happy hour and get blackout drunk and gossip about their bosses and how they hate everybody. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that still happens today, but I think people are more aware, and especially with remote work, when you literally don't have a physical office that I'm going into, that you're going into, you really have a separation of work and life, you really have a blend of work and life. And in some ways it's kind of like hard to even like fathom that you have like a real job until you're going to these like company-wide conferences and kickoffs, and you're like, oh my God, I work with all these people. I do work for a company, I forgot. But what I'm saying is, with the introduction of social media, with work from home life, it's allowed us to sever our identities from work a bit better. But with that, I don't want us to become complacent and just accept that and fill that void in that free time, in that space, with more social media and just like more things that aren't lasting, but rather fill them with things that are useful, and lean into the interesting hobbies around cooking, and like leverage social media to find great recipes to make a really good ingredient this weekend, or find a local sewing class or a local running club and go do that, and go join that and meet new people and do things outside of your work to continue to drive that separation between your work self and your independent self. Because I think if you are able to have a good separation between the two, honestly, even if you really do freaking love your job, like nobody wants to hear about your job all the time. Like just nobody does. And especially you make people feel like kind of crappy if you're here talking about how much you love your job and this person's like, I don't really love my job that much and I'm totally fine with that. But like, can we talk about this like great hike that we're going to do this weekend? Or like the fact that you were just in Argentina. I don't really want to talk about work per se. So I think it's even in healthy work people, healthy work life people, it's good to have an idea of who you are at work and then who you are outside of work, and maybe that Venn diagram in the middle as well, like what makes both of those entities similar and different. But it is very fair to say that work is the least interesting thing about you. Again, disclaimer, with not signaling that you are not going to work hard or that you don't care about your work, but that you have so many interests outside of how you spend majority of your weekdays working that you would rather talk about and that you would rather discuss, and that make you a more layered and sophisticated person that has more life experiences. Because who are we if we don't put ourselves out there and try new things? Like, God forbid, it literally makes me just, I can't even allow myself to feel these types of emotions of when I hear people, specifically old people, talk about what is one piece of advice that you would give to your 25-year-old self or 20-year-old self. And it's like, try everything, do everything, say yes, like never say no, like don't give up, like just don't ever think. There was this one thing that this woman, I mean, I'm getting triggered by people crying on TikTok. So it's like some of these like really sentimental videos. I'm like, why are you recording yourself crying? I've done that myself. But like, it's more funny. I try to be. Sometimes I'm like, this is so cringe. But this woman had come across another TikTok of an older woman saying that she let the woods or the shoulds take over her in life, of like, basically she let until I have a child, I'll be happy. Until I get married, I'll be happy. the until thens. She let them control her life. And it was until she blinked her eyes and was 80 years old, like my worst fucking nightmare. Oh my God. That she realized that she let the shoulds take over. She let the until thens take over, and she never was actually focused on being happy in present day. And I think understanding who you are outside of work, I think work truly can separate us so far from reality sometimes, because we get so caught up in the day-to-day commotion of our meetings and our one-on-ones and everything that we do in our job. And then we snap our fingers and it's Friday and we're like, woohoo, yeah, let's live it up. But like, what are the things that are rooting you in your day-to-day life that are making you feel purposeful? And literally for me, it's podcasting, it's creating, it's really making shitty vlogs and trying to bring my stupid fucking video camera out and have no idea how to use it and finicking and bobbling around with that. It's doing goofy, funny product reviews and spending way too much money on Amazon. These are things I like genuinely love, genuinely wish I could make a more linear career. It gets the wheels turning in my head to the point where if I'm during a workout, normally the time where I'm the most focused and just like connected to my body and just focusing on the workout. Oh my God, it is actually the worst when you get an itch in the middle of your freaking back. And Dylan's not here, he can't itch it for me. Holy crap-a-doodle. Ow, I don't know. But I find when I'm feeling my most creative, it affects me during my workouts. When normally you'd think that you would be the most like connected to your body and like focused on doing the exercises and et cetera. But for me, it's like once I start getting my body moving, because I'm like pretty sedentary during the day, that I have all these creative juices flowing in my head, where when we do Shavasana at the end, I like can't even sit still. I can't even close my eyes. I'm like, gotta do this, gotta write that email, gotta shoot that off. That would be helpful to send to them. I'm gonna email this person with this idea. And I just like sit every single time after I finish every single class. For the past like 2 months I've done this. I've sat on my phone and tried to execute all the to-do lists that I've put in my head. And this is definitely a condition of my OCD as well. If you haven't listened to my what it's like being a type A OCD person, I also get like really compulsive thoughts that I have to act on, or else I think I'll forget. And like, God forbid if I forget, I feel like it's going to be the end of the world and literally nothing happens. But the thought of forgetting important thoughts is very scary to me. So I will sit on my phone after every class for like sometimes 30, 45 minutes, crazy. And that's like, I view that as like my me time of like me, like focusing on letting my creative juices flow and trying to get things in motion, because I'm just here to, I want to be here for a long time, but I really want to be here for a good time. And I know that I'm a mover and a shaker, and I care deeply about a lot of things. And I would want somebody like myself on my team. So, yeah, I have a lot of ideas, and I really want to be a business owner. At some point, I really just want to be like a Bethany Frankel meets Emma Chamberlain. Like, God, I just love Emma Chamberlain's content so much. It's so wholesome. It's so quirky. It's so fun. It's so authentic. It's so unique. It's something that I try to emulate in all of my work. And I like really, really deeply applaud her and admire her and her craftsmanship and doing things. And this is like what it's so great. Like, we have all of these micro-influencers, these celebrities who are showing us that you can create from your things, from your interests. It is completely feasible. We live in America. How grateful are we? How amazing is it that we live, as fucked up as this country is and as our leadership can be and stuff like that. We should be so grateful to live in this country, the land of the free, where capitalism has us in chokeholds, but also where it promotes people to build their own companies, and you can literally have nothing, come from nothing, and have everything. And it takes a lot of work, but being able to have that access to all of us, it's like dangling the carrot in front of your face. Some people don't even see the carrot and they don't even care. Some people see the carrot and they're like, get that out of my way, I'm like so uninterested. And some people get the carrot but they're not willing to jump high enough. And some people see the carrot and they're just absolute animals and will go after it at all costs. So I don't know, I just think that was a big tangent, but we have amazing what's it called? We have just like incredible people like Emma Chamberlain, and I mean, honestly, like the Kardashians, who are pioneers is the word I'm looking for. Like Emma Chamberlain is such a pioneer too. She loves coffee, so she created her own coffee brand, like incredible, and like pre-canned beverages with coffee in them. It's a crowded market, but like if you can do something with your own personal brand that you've built over time and maybe do it a little bit better and a little tastier and a little bit more unique, it'll sell. Poppy getting sold for $6 billion to PepsiCo. Holy crap. Like I see in like Smart Sweets, the really healthy candy brand, like those are two brands that are just massive pioneer brands in my head of like, I want to build something like that. That is so freaking cool. And where do you start? You start somewhere. You start with maybe building a stupid brand of something, or stupidly concocting gummies in your kitchen. Like they all started from somewhere and they probably laughed at themselves thinking like this is like so stupid, but you believed in yourself. You found interests outside of your normal day-to-day life and hobbies and believed in yourself enough to see it through. And now Mr. and Mrs. Poppy be living rich. Oh my God, I would die for a vending machine. Poppy, if you're listening, please, I want a vending machine so bad. They give like these vending machines with pre-stocked, it's all free, to pre-stocked poppies and all their flavors to influencers and stuff. Massive vending machines, and it looks incredible. And I literally could drink a poppy every single day if I could. But all I'm saying is you are probably a far more interesting person than you let on. And it is totally okay to admit that work is the least interesting thing about you. A lot of people feel that way. Don't feel insecure about it if you're 26 like me and feel that way. Eventually, maybe we'll get to a point where work might be the most interesting thing about us, but like, it's totally fine, because I think me, Faith Dunn, as an individual, is a very interesting person, and I have a lot of fun, and I enjoy my brain and the way I think about things. And I guess to top it off is when you do have that perspective of work being the least interesting thing about you, it is a beautiful thing where you can take it way less seriously and still be just as good. Like everything in life is so unserious. If anybody is up your wazoo on do this, do that, blah, 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 like just like being a big, mean boss or anything, just look at them and just give them a virtual hug, because life is so unserious and the days are fleeting. It's just, it just astonishes me that in these made up corporate worlds and jobs that we do, that they can be taken so literally and so seriously. And I'm like, this is literally made up. This is all made up. I'm sure even for the poppies and stuff, they were like, what the, looking at each other, they're like, 6 billion, what the, this is a healthy soda. Like, this is so unserious, but being sold for such serious, life-changing amounts of money. Like, everything, if you lose your like being in touch with your creativity and your funness and your playfulness, I think you lose everything. So if work is really pulling you away from that side of yourself, you need to find things that bring you back to feeling childlike and playful and fun and interesting, and things that make you really passionate and excited to talk about, because we love capitalism, but we can't let it take a hold of us that way. And we need to have things outside of our work that fuel us and give us purpose, and make us feel interesting. And even if you're not monetizing it, it's still serving you in ways that money can't buy. So I encourage you, I implore you to always be thinking about this, especially if you're newer in your career like me, if you're later stage in your life and have been thinking, wow, I've actually really let my job dictate every element of myself and let it impact my body and my stress and my mental and physical state. Like, you can liberate yourself from feeling that way. It doesn't have to be that way. And you can rewire those patterns on allowing work to be so central to who you are. So that's my TED Talk. My stomach still really hurts. Dylan's out of town and he's in Arizona for his work. And sometimes it's kind of nice. I do really miss him, which is a great sign. I don't actually worry about my partner ever cheating on me or anything. I literally only worry about him dying. And that's when you know you're in a very mature relationship. I have compulsive thoughts that his plane's going to crash, that his car's going to crash. And, my brain's a great place sometimes, but a lot of the thoughts too, you'd be like, whoa, this girl needs to be medicated. But it's kind of nice not having him here, because then I can do my podcast at 10:30 at night and not hear a shh in the back, and eat all his chocolate chips, and all of his peanut butter, and clink around. So I'll be doing some more clanking around and enjoying myself and missing you, Dylan. I know you're listening. And hopefully you guys all can start to think to yourself, do I put too many eggs in my work basket? And are there other baskets that I'm neglecting that are taking away from me being an interesting person? And go watch, I'm having reflux, and go watch some of Emma Chamberlain's content on her Instagram and take a look, because it's so amazing and we love her. Anywho, all the best, guys.